Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and today we're taking a look at the Logitech G Cloud. It's a handheld gaming console that allows you to play Xbox, PlayStation and PC games away from your setup. I'll get it unboxed, set it up and then go through the specs and how it performs across the different streaming services. I know a few of you wanted to know how it works with the PlayStation 5, so I will cover that as well. Now, you might be wondering why you'd need one of these, and what the real pros and cons are. Well, I will try and answer those today, but any questions you might have, drop those in the comments and I will get back to you. Right, let's get this opened up and see what's inside the box. Okay, so we've got the console itself, and wow, this is a lot bigger than I was expecting, but it feels really nice. And the screen looks like a great size too, which I'm excited to see how the games look and play on it. Then we have this little black box which contains a plug and a USB-C cable, and that's obviously to charge it. And we have some manuals, which we all know we're not really going to read. So here it is, and first impressions, I like the clean, white design, this looks nice. And I actually quite like the yellow accents on the buttons and the thumbsticks. It's kind of minimal, but still gives us that nod to gaming. And you know what, looking at this now, it's probably one of the nicest looking handhelds that we've seen in terms of the overall design. But as for the ergonomics and feel, it feels great in the hands. It's pretty well balanced and isn't too heavy or too light. I mean, too heavy and it's a pain to hold for those long gaming sessions, and too light just makes it feel cheap. Looking around, there's some subtle Logitech G branding throughout, including the button on the front and the logo on the rear, but nothing in your face, which is a nice touch. When it comes to setting it up, it should only take you 2 or 3 minutes to get up and running. Once you've connected to your Wi-Fi, you just need to go through the on-screen prompts. Things like signing into your Google account and accepting the terms. And as this is powered by Android, you can either run it in tablet or handheld mode. In my opinion though, you want to use the handheld mode for the best experience overall. It does come with a handful of apps pre-installed like Xbox Cloud Gaming, GeForce Now and Steam Link, but you can of course download more apps as you need them. Now, one of the first things that I noticed was how nice this 7-inch display looked. It's bigger than any phone screen that I've used, and for mobile gaming it feels like the perfect size. It's got an IPS LCD which supports full HD, and on a screen this size 1080p is more than enough, but it is limited to 60Hz. Colours are vibrant and the brightness maxes out at 450 nits. For indoor use and outdoor on a cloudy day, this is absolutely fine, but like with almost every mobile device, you're not going to be able to comfortably use this in direct sunlight, and that's down to those reflections. But to be honest, I would rather have a glossy screen like this over a matte screen any day. And even though we have physical buttons and controls to use this, it's also a touch screen, so you can still swipe around the menus and dashboard using the screen, and it also means it will work with those mobile games that support it. As for the controls, we have an asymmetrical thumbstick layout, which feel like a great size and are nice and grippy. We have the A, B, X and Y buttons, which are firm to press. We also have the D-pad on the left side and 2 option buttons near the top of the screen. Most of these buttons feel like they're in a good position for gaming, and nothing feels too far away when holding it naturally. It doesn't feel like you need to stretch to press these buttons. The yellow G button near the bottom acts as the Xbox and the PlayStation button when using those apps, while the home button on the right side that returns you to the G Cloud dashboard. Across the top there are a set of bumper buttons and triggers marked L and R1 and 2. These have very little travel and are easy enough to press. Plus they have a very slight grippy texture to it, but they are plastic rather than rubber. Next to that is a volume button for controlling your audio, and a power switch to either turn it on or off or put it into rest mode. Now it does come with 64GB of storage, but there's a micro SD card slot if you want to expand on that later. Then across the bottom we have a 3.5mm headphone jack and a USB-C port for charging. So over the last couple of weeks I have been using this for all of my cloud-based and remote play gaming, and from my experience so far this does fill a specific need. So the purpose of the G Cloud isn't to replace your PS5, Xbox or PC, it's to allow you to play your games away from your TV or your desk. For me there are times I either can't or really don't want to sit at my setup, but still fancy jumping on a game. Sure, I could use my phone with an adapter, but the battery life, screen size and ergonomics are just better on this. This feels like a pick up and play device. Take the Xbox for example. Game Pass gives you access to a huge library of games, and you can play all of those on here as well. So we actually get 2 different Xbox apps. The first one is Xbox Cloud Gaming, which is essentially Game Pass, and the other is Xbox, which is a remote play app. This allows you to log in and play games directly from your Xbox instead, and this is useful if you want to play games that are not on Game Pass. Both options work really well and show off how nice the screen looks and how smoothly it plays. Of course, this is all dependent on your internet connection, which you will need in order to connect to these services. But playing games like Forza showed me how there's little to no lag, and the controls feel perfect when driving around. Then there's PlayStation gaming. At the moment, PlayStation doesn't offer a streaming service like Xbox, where you can play games from their cloud to any device, but what it does have is PS Remote. This allows you to play games directly from your PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 to a compatible device. Now, although there's the official PS Remote app that connects and works absolutely fine, unfortunately you can only control and use your games and PS5 via the touchscreen. The physical buttons are not recognised at all. Now, fortunately, there is a workaround for this, and that's by downloading another app called PS Play. It is a third-party app, but once you're logged in, you get full control over the console via the physical buttons on the device. And I can say now, this is by far the best remote play experience I've had so far on the PS5. Being able to jump into a game like Star Wars while I'm away from my TV is just awesome. It plays smoothly and there's little to no lag, and the quality looks great. It means if I really wanted to, I could play some of the gaming on my TV, then pick up the G Cloud and play somewhere else in the house. But as mentioned, the PlayStation doesn't offer a cloud service, so you will be connecting directly to your console, and that means it does need to be powered on to use it. But you also don't need to be at home or on the same Wi-Fi. You can remote access it from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. So another huge service worth mentioning is GeForce Now. This is Nvidia's cloud gaming service that allows you to stream and play PC games you already own. This means you can play games without needing to ever download them. In fact, you don't even need to have a PC to play them. This doesn't use remote play or rely on a console being left on. This lets you stream the game straight to the G Cloud. So I jumped on a few different games including Cyberpunk and Apex Legends and was impressed by the instant response on this. And like with all of these games, there are no updates or waiting for downloads. It's a case of signing in and hitting play. This is also the best way to see the full 1080p quality. The same goes for Shadow, which is a full cloud-based PC streaming service. Essentially, you can run a virtual PC and stream all of your games straight to the device via the Shadow app. And the same as before, the only limitation is how reliable your internet connection is. So we know how it works with streaming and cloud gaming, but what about local gaming? Well, as this runs on Android, you still get access to the Google Play Store. That means any mobile games you like to download and play will still work like any other mobile or tablet. I downloaded a couple of games to test out, and as you'd expect, they played really well. It also means I can use this offline if I wanted to use it with the normal Play Store games. But there is one limitation which you might not realise until you start to play some of those Android games, and that's the lack of remapping support. So some games like Call of Duty Mobile don't recognise the controller and will only work via the touchscreen controls. Now that's not a huge issue, except because the controller is so wide, it's actually quite difficult to reach the screen while playing. It means if you were planning on using it with Call of Duty Mobile, it might not work the way that you intended. So during the setup process, you can choose between tablet and handheld mode, which you can also jump between via the settings. Now as this is running Android, it means you can essentially use it like any other Android device, with access to the Play Store and the settings and menus. For me, the handheld mode is overall the cleaner and better choice, but it's great that you can swap between the two. I know some others have been using it in tablet mode, then adding their own themes, so it can be fully customized that way. As for the specs, it comes with a Snapdragon 720G processor and 64GB of internal storage. That might not sound like a lot, but as this is a cloud streaming device, you won't be downloading many games to the actual device. As mentioned before, you can expand this with the micro SD card slot if you needed to. It has Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5GHz as well as Bluetooth 5.1. So along with the inbuilt speakers and a 3.5mm headphone jack, you can use a pair of Bluetooth headphones with it as well. As for the battery, it's rated at over 12 hours of use, and from my testing so far, that's pretty spot on. In fact, I have seen more than 12 hours over the last couple of days, and when I've not been using it, I have seen more than a week in standby. So the big question is it worth buying? Well, the pros are it's got a decent screen size, great controls, it feels nice, and it works with all of the gaming services you'd want or need to use, and that's both cloud and local gaming. This is something I can imagine taking with me on holiday where I know I can remote play on my PlayStation 5 or jump onto Game Pass. The only real negative for me is the price. For a device which is aimed purely at streaming games, I feel it's a little expensive. It's currently priced at £330, although there's a limited time offer where you get 6 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate included. That's worth about £65. This would then bring the price down to around £265, which doesn't seem so bad and not far off what I think it's worth. I'd say that's a lot of console for the money and will fill the gap of gaming away from your setup. But what do you think? Is this something that you would pick up for your mobile gaming sessions, or is there something else you would choose instead? Now drop a mobile gaming in the comments and I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, check out this video next. Well, thank you for watching. Please like, sub and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time.